Hey guys, it's me again because I forgot to film this audio and I just remembered it's an important one. It's gonna be about excuses. So what I have noticed that a lot of you guys tend to do when it comes to your exes, it's mostly when it comes to exes, is that you will have a bunch of excuses for the mistakes you've done towards them, and I don't mean excuses towards me but when you're talking to them. So when the topic is going to be something that made them feel a certain way or some action you did, you will always kind of have a lot of excuses for yourself. So you're going to be blaming it on them, or blaming it on somebody else, or blaming it on something else, or just blaming it even on your past traumas. And this is a big problem because when you are looking for excuses, and this is what anxiously attached people always do, by the way, they always are looking for excuses for their behavior, and it's always something, and therefore it should be okay because they felt a certain way or they were triggered or whatever it is. When you're looking for excuses, it shows me something about you, something internal about you that you need to work on. So your exes, uh, the reason why you're giving them excuses subconsciously most of the time, and sometimes consciously as well, depending on who you are. What you're trying to achieve is to make something, make up for something in a way that it's gonna seem like, oh, that's reasonable. They did this because of that, and that makes it okay. And we are no longer gonna be, arguing, or we're no longer gonna be separated, or whatever it is. And that's kind of why you're doing it. You want just to find an excuse, and for your behavior, because you don't want to admit basically that you may have done some mistakes. And even though you're kind of admitting, okay, I did a mistake, but I did it because this and this and this. So what you're doing is you are trying to, you know um, make an excuse for your mistake. And when you do mistakes, guys, there are no excuses. Yeah, sure, everything was for a certain reason, but blaming things on somebody else and not owning your mistakes is not right. It's not okay. And other people can see that, and they can see you making up excuses. You're trying to blame others. You're trying to, switch the blame to something else, and you're kind of not owning your mistake. People don't like that. So it's much better to own your mistake, to apologize for it, and to actually work on the reasons why you made the mistake, which will usually be internal problems and issues you need to work on, so it's not going to happen again. That is the solution. The solution is not to make up an excuse, or to blame it on somebody else, or to blame it on them, or to, just try to explain it rationally, whatever. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, and it's actually probably gonna make them think, okay, this person is not admitting the mistake. So you won't be you won't be validating them in a way. You will not be validating their hurt, because it's like, oh, but that was because of this. So you're not validating the fact that they felt hurt, that they felt unseen, because you are too much in your ego, and you just want to get them back. You want to make them, love you again. You want to make them forgive you, but that's not the way to do it, because you're only thinking about, okay, I want this person to be with me. You're not thinking about how this person is feeling because of the thing you said or did. And this is often something that people who react in a way that we talked about, I think, yesterday or the day before. So when they send a bunch of texts where they try to prove their worth, and they kind of like are pointing out the mistakes the other person did, just to show, okay, you did mistakes as well, and you made me feel like this, and nothing is my fault because you blame me for everything or whatever it is. So that is something that those type of people will tend to do. And they will always have excuses, all of that self-validating, proving their worth, should I say, uh, is about the fact that they want to make excuses for their behavior. So I'm only trying to tell you that I am this and this and this. So that's wrong. That's wrong. And they're gonna send a bunch of texts and trying to prove their worth, trying to prove that the other person was wrong, blaming them on everything, all sorts of things, but they will never say, I did a mistake, or they will never say, I'm sorry, I have been bombarding you with messages and you had to block me everywhere. That wasn't okay. That wasn't respectful. That wasn't, respecting your boundaries. That was just, me being my egoistical self, trying to prove my worth, and demanding you to validate me. That's kind of how it looks like on the outside. So guys, own your mistakes. Excuses are not something somebody wants to hear, and there is a reason why you are coming up with excuses instead of working on your mistakes, working on your issues. It's something you need to work on. It's not something you need to make up an excuse about and let's go on now that, I have excused myself. I have, told you the reasons behind it because, whatever. And then let's just continue because I did nothing wrong. No. What people want you to do is own your mistake. Own it, apologize for it, and most of all, the biggest thing they want from you is to change, is to make that change, is to fix that issue, is to work on that reason why you did what you did. That is what they want. They don't want an excuse, and they can see when somebody is coming up with excuses for their behavior. So I hope that's clear, and I hope you're not going to be doing this again. Enough with excuses. What needs to be done is working on ourselves. I love you guys. Bye.